stream this time, the buffering was out of control. So I was going through my notes. Obviously, the Donald Trump thing was a big nothing burger. Didn't come out as Q. He's not dead. They're just putting up a new sign in front of the Space Force base or something. The Owen Schroyer leaving InfoWars is not the big deal that he probably wanted it to be. I don't know if it was smart, because I think this field is saturated. Oh, we need another commentator from a. I mean, that's for me. This is all just research, opposition research, theology here. But what does he have to offer? He's come from the alternative right, steeped in all of the assumptions that make up woke rightism. So he's got already a narrow base. His base is basically groypers. Groypers who think Alex Jones didn't go too far. People, it's like basically Nick Fuentes' crowd. And I don't think he has any appeal to them. But we'll see. I'm not being hypercritical here. I'm just wondering is this a legitimate breakup? Or is it staged because InfoWars is being taken apart? And by the way, InfoWars was never censored. One of the points I make in this upcoming book is about what it means to be censored from the world stage. Because there's acknowledged and non-acknowledged. And if you're acknowledged, you're not censored. If you are truly censored, no one hears about you. As in, your perspectives aren't even included in the big assessment. And our perspective is not included. So they don't censor opinions. They censor perspectives. And there's a big difference here, because we might have the same basic opinion, but if our perspectives are different, it tells a different story. So for example, person A says, and person A is on the left, Trump's assassination attempt in Butler was fake. That was staged. So a person on the left saying that, and then I say it. I think Trump's thing was staged. Well, if I'm not in the political spectrum, if I'm looking at this through the lens of the PSYOP entertainment complex being part of the picture, our use of the word fake means two different things. The distinction really is they don't take it far enough. So the people who are still looking at it through the mainstream frame think that Trump pulled off a stunt and maybe got some people killed. But if you're looking at it from the broader perspective, not only was he part of it, but so was the Secret Service. So are both ends of the media. The influence operations, the so-called PSYOPs, these things are implemented at a level higher than partisan politics, which just react to these things. That's why I think it's fundamentally useless to be a news commentator today, unless you're just not in the know. So I guess he's not in the know. I couldn't have a passion for pushing fake partisan news 24/7. See, they're not informing people. The world stage is all misinformation. And that's not a hyperbolic statement. If you consider the significance of influence operations, PSYOPs, and propaganda, even over the last 50 years, and the dominant influence these have had in shaping what we term history, then any analysis of the world stage events framed through consensus history is fundamentally flawed. It's misinformation. When you recognize misinformation, now you're informed about the misinformation. It doesn't necessarily know what's being hidden, but you can separate it. But if you're in the MSM box, which I'm calling, it's basically a kill box. If you're in MSM or any of the subsets, left or right, whatever brand of conspiracies you like, you're still living in the world of misinformation. And the people who don't pay attention, who are like, I'm not programmed, I don't watch the news. No, programming's the default. If you don't pay attention, it means you're uninformed. But you're only uninformed about the misinformation. because the non-misinformation is not available to you. That is proprietary information. You got to have a security clearance, got to sign your name in blood, take a blood oath, sacrifice a chicken to Moloch, or you listen to Infinite Plane Radio. There are very few avenues to get to the point where you can recognize the distinction between fake and real appropriately. Because this is this is basically a security clearance society that runs this place. Secret society is kind of archaic. It's about security clearances. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate the support. The IPS is about to move into the moon base, which is half the price of the last place I was staying at. And I double checked it. I thought the hours were limited. No, I got 24-hour access there. So I'm looking forward to the new base. It's going to be used exclusively for nightly broadcasts. So any support of this channel goes right into that. And once I'm situated, it will be a scheduled show. So we're getting very close. But the release of the book is my high priority right now. The book is our foundation. It's the epicenter of this thing. Because what we have established, but it's small enough to not be on their radar yet, but what we've established here is outside of the MSM kill box, with all of its little subsets of conspiracy theories and fringes and all that. We've established a separate body of media analysis outside of it. And the distinction isn't different opinions, it's different points of view. It's different perspectives. And people who are just default believing whatever don't know that they have a perspective, that you bring in an intrinsic bias. Nobody's neutral. News isn't neutral. That's why I was saying that Owen Schroyer is going to have a hard time trying to pander to a bigger box, because nobody wants what he's selling. He's selling Groyper Light. You know, and like I said before, if he was truly independent, he would be here. There is no independent media, because it's all dependent on mainstream filtration. It's all government controlled. If you want to be independent of that, outside the box, off-world stage, there's only one place right now. And that should be alarming if you think about it. I mean, I'm used to it. You know that meme where there's like one person standing for a crowd and he's like, "You're all wrong"? Well, that's us, and there's 8 billion people. And we're like, "Yeah, you guys are wrong." And it's not hubris. I would love someone to prove me wrong. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. We still have about... Kevin Mooring said, like Trutherville-friendly products, like that 5G protective undergarments, so that you don't go sterile from your 5G tower targeting your gonads while you sleep. Or chemtrail masks. Look, he would make a killing. If Owen Schroyer sold chemtrail masks, he'd make a killing. I try to sell them, but nobody took me seriously. In fact, they're like, "How dare you say we should be wearing masks?" It's like, well, you're the ones saying this is toxic. What's up, Legos go pew pew? So Donald Trump's alive. Comment says, Laban analyzes the nature of crowds and the role in political movements. Yeah, okay. So Gustave Le Bon, Nature of Crowds, important book to read. The book Propaganda by Edward Bernays, which is public domain, by the way. So I'm going to publish an IPS version. It shows you very explicitly that the governments that control this place view the masses as a singular organism to be manipulated. Like, we are manipulated en masse. Mass media manipulates us en masse. Anyway, Donald Trump's fine. And even if he wasn't, they would just put somebody in a suit. Like, I'm not convinced he's not a suit now. Did you see Nick Cage as John Madden? I'm like, wow, what a transformation. Speaking of transformations, I once postulated that maybe The Rock, in order to live longer, stopped abusing his body with performance-enhancing drugs and just started wearing a rubber suit. So we used to jokingly refer to The Rock as the Rubber. Well, he just did some movie which is highly rated, like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, about MMA fighting. And for that role, The Rock has shed 60 pounds. So if you look at him, he's like skinny like Obama. I'm like, what happened to The Rock? But you know, it's a role that he played. But my question is, did he lose the weight, or did he just hang up the rubber muscle suit? What's up, Linda Curtis? NDB, thanks for joining. This understanding of the crowd is not new. I often reference Instrumentum Regni and Polybius talking about how the cohesion of the Roman state was maintained with superstition, by using essentially superstitions, mind war, myths, to keep the masses subjugated and under control. What's changed? Nothing. They've updated the gods. Our media constitutes a state church, and it promulgates myths and a syncretic religion that is a unifying, universal that we're all a part of. You're born into the program. And when we say, in this context, script, well, we're talking about the ongoing manipulation of the masses through a worldview monopoly. They write history. There is a script. There are script writers. We point it out all the time. I mean, anyway, that's what the book is for. Kevin Mooring says InfoWars has people sign contracts. Well, yeah, I don't envy Owen's position. I think he kind of picked a fight with somebody who he should have understood would probably resent the way he left. NDB says, I was behind the Flatlanta. Glad you're going to attend. The timing wasn't right. Hopefully 2026. Yeah, hopefully. By that time, we'll have a lot more of the PSYOP trading cards to promote. Ollie Goering says, would the world be a better place if the masses are mentally liberated? Dictatorship. But, you know, I have something in mind as well. I have this concept. Meeting in person, having gatherings above ground are very useful when you're, especially something like this, when you're trying to establish what is essentially a movement. And you could call it countercultural, in the sense that the IPS think tank deliberately goes anti-anti. The Egyptians thought ignorance was evil. The masses are evil, says Ollie Goering. They're profane. The wilderness of darkness. But it's weaponized ignorance. Does it count that Trump rose 3 days after death? See, I don't even think he died. I think it was just wishful thinking. And I looked at the trending hashtags, and it's not the first time that trended. Maybe we're so evil that our benevolent controllers have figured out how to keep us at peace by keeping it in the mind, like mind war. They reduce the physical destruction. I mean, at a minimum, you can say that's somewhat benevolent. Anyway, we will have to continue this. My phone's about to die. But there's a lot going on, so I appreciate all the support. We're going to move into the next phase, accelerationism. Just a matter of weeks. Everything's actually falling into place, right on schedule. I think the deadlines I set were appropriately distant. And this new book that I'm referring to, like I said, I'm parsing it out into 60 videos, maybe 30 if I double them up, but I'm putting all these clips. Every chapter is being put into AI-generated content. I'm gonna throw it out there because I think what this will do is it will force Trutherville to engage in what we're actually stating here. A lot of them are stagnant. They've been stuck in an intellectual cul-de-sac and they don't even know it. And I'm looking at like institutions like InfoWars cracking, the schism on the right, and I'm like, this is probably a good time you know, to introduce a new way of looking at things. Unless you want to be stuck in 2002, you know, still getting mad at Bush and Cheney. It's like, we need to update. Trutherville does not have an updated operating system. They have a stale old belief system. And they're still addicted to nothing burgers. All right, thanks for joining. We'll be back